we have two folks supporting the sign.
There's some extras
Walls
here.
not supporting the sign.
I gotta have, you know, me, it's gotta
We
be.
need a full footing underneath the rest of the walls.
I don't think so, there's no,
I can talk about it.
if you push this button,
Oh,
do you want these on?
It don't matter, I can.
Just talk
I can,
loud.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm fine.
No, you're not. You need to be over
No.
here.
There, now try, yeah, there you go.
There
We're
you
trying to
go.
fill these seats, so you just have to come up.
I mean,
Are you kidding me?
She called me.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Wait, who?
Aaron Brad.
Excuse me, he's ready to talk.
No.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
You're fine, you're fine.
Okay.
Hello and good evening, board members, citizens, and fellow artists. I want to welcome you all to this meeting of minds and talent. My name is Kurt Smith. I'm a community leader, activist, and fellow artist of Berlin Township. And while attending the meetings here at Berlin, I noticed the obvious renovations being done, and it occurred to me that we have a golden opportunity to not only begin showcasing the hidden talent of the artists residing within our community, but to connect them together as well. So I'd be lying when I said I didn't have a small agenda in getting to personally meet with other artists here, because I believe that through collaborative projects such as the ones that are being proposed today, we will see a real revival in the arts, especially in a time when our way of life is seemingly becoming obsolete with the advance of AI and its generated images, and it's important for us to work together. So, as mentioned, I thought at least a couple of the projects would take place here within the Township Hall. I don't know the full extent of what you guys would want done or the work, or how many rooms or anything, but I just assume the main meeting rooms, the hallways potentially, just to liven it up, make it feel a little bit more comfortable for everybody. I imagined like relaxing nature settings and scenes, maybe like a marshy setting with cattails, swans, ducks, deer, eagles, maybe the leaves changing in a fall setting. I leave it up to you. You're all the artists. Your vision. You guys and the board can collaborate with you a little bit more as well on what they were looking for. But from my understanding, it was stuff that reflected the natural characteristics and the wildlife of our community. And the second project would be at Laginess Park, I believe is how it's pronounced, right?
Yes.
On Brandon Road. The board is looking for 2 artists. However, I want to say that if you're not chosen today for these particular projects, then that doesn't mean that we won't or don't need you to come back to collaborate with us in the future. Every artist has something unique to bring to the table, so we just want to capitalize on that as much as we can and don't want to feel like anybody's excluded or left out. And I also want to make a quick shameless plug for my group Artists Against AI in Michigan. Exactly as the name states, it's a collective of artists, and as mentioned before, we're working together to reinvigorate human-created content. We're on Facebook. Get a hold of Savannah or I. We're both running the group. Without further ado, let me shut up so I can get some of our artists introduced. The first on our list here is Presley Bergamoser, I believe. If you want to come up and introduce yourself further, or any work you have, or whatever you want to say.
Absolutely.
And thank you for being here.
Of course, thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm Presley Bergmoser, and I run Presley Made. That is the name of my company. And I've done different mural work throughout the past couple of years. I just graduated, I say past couple of years because I graduated a couple of years ago from MSU with a degree in advertising. So one specific twist that I like to take, or approach that I like to take towards my art, is really making sure that there's a way to, as much as I love art as an artist, I think there's a difference between buying a piece of art or commissioning a piece of art and, I mean, what could be done with a sign versus actually getting people involved in the process. So that is why I have really taken a lead in community murals. I've done a lot of work in Monroe over the past couple of years involving community members in my actual painting process. Because as complicated as it is, I believe that it's not that complicated, and I like to make it sort of just a giant coloring book for everyone to be a part of. My favorite part about it is when someone has a personal connection to something. So obviously when we're talking about community projects, community murals, the thing that I love more than anything is when I was doing a mural in a park in Monroe, and there was a toddler on the park behind me, and he had taken part in the painting day beforehand. So getting to come back to that place and being able to show, and he was like pointing to his mom and saying like, "Mom, we did that yesterday, we did that." And something like that. It's just something you never forget. I've done work in Ida as well with that community, and it makes it a day. It's, again, more than a piece of art, something that people can take part in during the painting process. So that is a really, really big focus when it comes to murals. I'm very open to any sort of design direction. I don't really specialize in anything particular other than the fact of bringing people in to be a part of the process. And then I like to make sure everyone knows that I come in afterwards and fix anything that might need fixed. It's impossible to mess up, but in the time that it needs to be fixed, it doesn't look like 6 years fixed it. So,
So what you're saying is, so say you have an idea for a mural, you bring in community members, or you
Yes.
invite people? Or how do
Absolutely.
you, I guess, do you put that out, or how does that work usually?
yeah, so for example, what we did last year in Monroe, I did one that was, where there was a massive crosswalk project.
Mhm.
So they were painted mural crosswalks, and we held, one was a community project, and it was held in unison with a concert in the park. So it's best, and another example is at Ida Blue Streak, what we did is they opened early, did a brunch menu, and then people could come in, the business benefited from that, obviously, and then we held it also in unison with the farmer's market. So the way that it's kind of naturally pushed out is, whatever board I'm working with, we try to narrow down either events that are happening in the community or narrowing down just a free date on a calendar, and then through my own social media, and then the various different ways of marketing that the township usually communicates. For the most part, it's been Facebook, just because that's, our target. We're not trying to contact people through, it's different reach than it would be if I were to post on TikTok or my other platforms. Facebook is where we're actually setting up meeting times and giving proper information. So that is how I have seen it be the most beneficial to everyone.
Thank you.
I have a question for the board. I thought we were going to do Laginess Park first.
I think, yeah.
Okay, and then see how it goes and,
Mhm.
okay, thank you.
Do you have any initial thoughts on, so if it is our neighborhood park, do you have any initial thoughts, like what you would, envision for the community mural?
I mean, the way that I like to go about the design process, especially if we're coming in and we just have a wall and that's it, because it's so different versus like, we need a pelican versus, the idea of the creative process. What I like to do is usually set off in two, not usually three, but 2 or 3 total opposite directions, and then we just go from there. I'm very, cut and dry about what works and what doesn't work and what we like and what we don't like, and it's not an attack on my design process or anything like that. So what I like to do is, if we chose to move forward, I would present 2 design rounds to the board, and then we from there would choose a direction, and then we go through 3 rounds of revision. So we're able to say, okay, I hate this color blue, let's swap that out, versus I like this idea. I love the idea of something nature oriented. I think that that's super fun, and I think that there's a lot of ways. I really like to mix realistic elements with also my ad background and a little bit of more fun 2D or things that we wouldn't actually see in real life, as in like more pops of color, stuff that makes it both recognizable but still different from a photo.
Can you give us just like a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. My name is Presley. I'm from Monroe. I grew up in Monroe, and I went to St. Mary Catholic Central, graduated from there, and then I chose to go to community college for 2 years. I was dead set on never becoming an artist, because I really loved, I love people, and the only thing about art that naturally drew me away from it is I always found myself alone in a room painting. And for me, that was really difficult and very hard, and I was like, I wanna talk to people, I wanna go climb the corporate ladder and like go and move to the city. And so I went to community college, and then for those 2 years while I was in Monroe, I actually had my first ever mural at the old original, if you guys are familiar with Cakes by Stephanie, at their original building. And I was lucky, it really kind of happened naturally. My boss told me that she wanted a mural, she was like, I want you to do it. I was like, okay. And then that was my first ever, and then from there, I naturally found myself painting so much more. And then I chose to go to Michigan State because I never wanted to go to art school, but I also didn't wanna just get like a business degree, and I didn't know what I would go for. So I decided to go for advertising because it was like a baby between art and business. And I found it really beneficial because now that I have naturally ended up doing art full time, I feel like I'm able to apply a much more objective approach to it. Because like I said in the beginning, and I love art as much as anyone in this room, but I think that there is a very big difference from buying a pretty picture versus what is attached to that. So that's why when I talk to clients and when we talk about scope in general, I really like to make sure that it's more than just the photo, that we're actually creating experiences for people. You know, talking about technology, making sure that, I think that the new move is experiential marketing. And you're seeing it with all of the major brands. I stay really closely connected and try to keep up to date, you know, for any sort of activations that you're seeing within communities and whatnot. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. We wanna bring people together. So that was why when I started doing murals, I found out that there's no barrier to entry here. And as soon as I can, and I think that creative projects feel so daunting to everyone else. So as soon as I found out that I was able to just like hand over a paintbrush and be like, no, you're not gonna mess it up. And then they saw that they didn't. That was how I was able to blend my passions of art and people, if that's a little bit about me. And then now I live in Detroit and I paint full time, and I also do live events, not murals, but mural-esque, just smaller.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
I feel the
guys.
passion, I love it.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. We have a couple people here that aren't in attendance, from what I can tell. Caitlin Mosley, Rhonda, Aaron Pinkham, and now we're on to Joe Hosler, right? Hustler. Yeah, come on up if you wanna speak and tell us who you are.
Hello, my name is Joseph Hostler, sign painter for Wayne County, traditional sign painter, and I've been doing murals for the past 10 years. Roughly, I'd say my expertise is in kind of more small town, community oriented murals. My first one started out in River Rouge. There was a bridge that was closed for 10 years, or somewhere like maybe 5 years, but the bridge was shut down connecting River Rouge to Detroit, and that shut off a major corridor for River Rouge. And when they finally reopened it, to celebrate them reopening it, one of the business owners, in a similar way, contacted me to paint a mural to kind of try to liven up the city and give it a little bit better context than the way people thought of it. And from there, people reached out to me to do similar projects, and I've kind of ended up down in this area, more specifically Gibraltar, and got really tied into the Duck and Waterfall Festival and the people there, and I've gotten to paint a lot of ducks and a lot of American flags, patriotic type stuff, but it's always included a tie to the community. And with this project, and any you see fit in the future, I'm really passionate about these small towns and the stories they have. And to speak on your mission of the No AI, we had a 92-year-old artist, Dick Whitwam, from the Waterfall Festival, and he's very old and but he's still very passionate, and his family's still very involved with the Tucson Waterfall Festival. And a community member in Gibraltar commissioned me to paint one of his like an interpretation of one of his paintings on the side of the gas dock in Gibraltar.
Oh, neat.
So now, families going past to go out to the water, they see that painting and they're reminded of that. And I see that as an opportunity with projects like this, whether it be a park or a community space, to people making memories, to connect the visual with the memories they're making. And that's something that I would like to be a part of, so.
Neat.
I guess similar questions, right? So a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and I hope I didn't miss it. My
Oh, no,
brain's a little
sorry,
slow
I'm
today, so
horrible
I apologize.
selling myself, but, I'm from Wyandotte, Michigan,
Okay.
and, I've kind of stayed local to the area. I did kind of like the movie Into the Wild. I took a couple years and drove around the country. I'm on my 41st state, or 42nd state now.
Awesome.
So I got out and saw the country and brought a lot of inspiration back with me, but it always comes back to just loving small towns and the stories there within. So.
I'm trying to think of what other questions we had, Coach Presley, but I think, yeah, I love that, too, the small towns and bringing that to life.
And I'm also open and happy to work with other artists in the community, and I would say I specialize in bigger walls and outdoor stuff, wildlife, lettering, clean and vibrant imagery, so.
Yeah, have you ever seen Laginess Park?
Yes,
Okay, yeah, it's the, kind of the north side of the building. We're gonna
Yes.
power wash it. Okay.
I imagine that
Yeah.
would be a good
Yeah,
space.
graffiti artist.
Oh, yeah.
Not a graffiti
Yeah.
artist.
Something that-
Somehow.
Something that drives me crazy, everywhere I go, I see big open walls, and that'd be a great place for me.
You bet, yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking
I like
There's a lot of good
the
artists.
trains fascinate me.
about. Yes.
When they go by so fast and you're just like, oh my God, it's so
You
beautiful.
never know what you're gonna see.
It's amazing, it's like, oh
The
my
colors
goodness,
and everything.
it's crazy, and then you find some of these kids in these places that, how did you get up there? Oh,
And then
and
you're
then
thinking,
paint.
$10 for a can of paint, and do you see all the colors they use? I'm like, that was like $100.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's expensive.
but they get up high in some places, like some of these cities, it's crazy.
Cost?
I was thinking of just reaching out after our interview and then I'll bring it back to our next meeting, is what I was thinking. Any other questions? Alright.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
What's your favorite state so far?
Ooh.
Michigan.
Are you being honest? Is that, or what would you say? For real?
All encompassing Michigan. Montana and Alaska had a magic about them, but I always come back to Michigan.
New York City.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm with him with Alaska.
I'll be there in 2 weeks.
Florida.
I'll be in Alaska, do 5 days of hiking and 10 days on a cruise.
That sounds amazing.
Bring it over.
But I have to agree with you guys that, I've said this before in another meeting, that oftentimes nature, I feel like, is the greatest form of art, as we often reflect it in our art. So, just wanted to make that comment, but our next artist that decided to show up was Savannah Thorne. If you wanna come on up and
Is this like our presentation as well?
kinda, yeah, if
Okay.
you wanna show
Yeah,
off what you
I
got.
brought a bunch of stuff here. I'm probably just gonna stand in front of you guys if that's okay. Sure. Here's one of my most favorite paintings that I did. I did this painting to trip that I took in the Betsy River in 2019. Just a beautiful experience. If you've ever been salmon fishing, it's really like no other. The fight is like no other, and just a beautiful fish in general. And there's so many different species of salmon and trout, so I just wanted to paint that as like a more of a memory of course there's photos, but they don't do it justice, I feel like. All right, and my name is Savannah Thorne. I'm from Monroe, Michigan, Frenchtown specifically, but I have lived here my whole life. No plans of leaving anytime soon, but I do really love where I live. So recently I've done a lot of traveling for my job down in Ohio. So some of these murals, these are just examples, these are not my work, I will say that. This is a rendering that I did with just some ideas. But so from my travels, I have seen murals painted on grain silos, which I think is a wonderful idea. If the Masoretes would let us do that, all for that. I know that's a different project, but sorry, these got a little bit cut. Some of the ideas that I was really hoping we could do, I know you already said nature, but the things that I think of, obviously swans, Swan Creek, I think of the marina, the boat club, a seagull, blue heron, deer, eagles, just all of the natural wildlife that we have. Obviously, we probably won't be able to incorporate all of it. Maybe we can, that might be a lot of animals, but it's something I really liked. This painting down here kind of drew some inspiration from that one, how they have farmers' fields with the water. It's basically someone pouring water out of a jar, but the water is the whole town, so to speak. So in this rendering I did down here, I tried to incorporate, well, I want to do a sunset with the bright colors, some water details, like the creek is shown there, somebody fishing, got flowers, trees. I did put the field in there too. I felt that was really important for a farming community. But there's so many different ways you could go with it. Another popular thing is to do like a welcome to Newport sign. So here's one with Orlando. Each letter, they have different things that would represent the town. These make really good photo backdrops for like people going through, like you see those on Facebook a lot. People like to take pictures in front of those. This one is just a fish, which for obvious reasons I really liked. So that was just a possible idea. And then here's kind of like a rendering just with some bright colors of if we did something that said welcome to Newport. And there is more than one side to the building. I wasn't sure if you're painting just one, both, but either way, there's multiple things you could do, multiple themes. I do really like the abstract theme as well as shown here. This is from somewhere down in Ohio along Lake Erie. So they have the heron in this one. They have several different concepts. They've got the amusement park listed there, I assume for Cedar Point. Different fish, but also bright colors, bright shapes, very eye-catching. So something like that I feel like would be great. I did kind of like a render similar to that. I didn't have a ton of time, but I wish I had more. I could make some better renderings, but just so you get the idea. So, and this one I put a tractor, a heron, some bright shapes and colors, boats, a fox just here because they are a big part of our environment as well. And I did want to touch on some other ideas I had, as well as some things I can provide. Even if I'm not chosen for this project, I would like to contribute somehow. I do have ladders, I do have an extendable paint pole. It's like 30 foot. I mean, this thing is huge, so you can really get in certain areas with not having to climb a ladder with that. There is some preparation. I know you guys already mentioned the power washing the walls. One thing I personally had to do, like I painted the brick foundation at my house, but power washing wasn't quite enough to get all the loose paint off. I went over it with a wire brush. Really want to make sure you get the surface correct because it's going to affect how it holds up over time. So I honestly think the preparation is almost just as important as actually doing the mural. So whatever we do, we just need to make sure it's going to have good adherence, as well as special brick paint. I wasn't sure if you're aware of that as well. It is recommended to use masonry paint on bricks because it needs to breathe. So when I did my foundation paint, I made sure I did that. It's very important that you don't, there's gotta be room for the water to escape the brick or it will cause damage too. So just one thing to consider there. And about me too, I did a couple murals in high school. Unfortunately, don't have pictures of those. Since then, I've been mostly working on smaller works of art. I usually do my art as a gift to people. So one of my favorite things I like to do is pet portraits for friends or loved ones or family who've maybe lost a pet. my favorite thing to do is give them a photo of their animal. And it's really special that way. It's you know, it's a one-of-a-kind gift. It's something I'm never gonna forget. But mostly animals. I like to do naturescapes a lot as well too. And then some other ideas I had here too, to see if local businesses would want to maybe sponsor, assist with the cost. Now, I don't know if that means they would want to have their name listed somewhere on the mural. I assume it wouldn't have to be huge. They might just want to do that just for the good of the community. I think a lot of them would go for that. So I listed some local businesses here, you know, the Mitten, of course, Big Al's, Swan Boat Club, Mazarins, of course, I think they would definitely go for that. The Vintage Bar, Newport Electric, etc. There's a ton of them that could potentially be reached out for something like this. And that would obviously reduce the cost burden on us, but it would be a good way to bring community businesses in as well. And they could say, like, I had a part in this, and that would just, it's a feel-good moment, I think, too, for them. And then, so, it's kind of a question, do we want to include local landmarks in the mural? I kind of touched on some of the ones that I personally would feel that we need to include, definitely the boating and the water, because that's, you know, you think of Newport, you think of the water. And maybe even the green silos, I don't know, I mean, it's right as you drive through town, so I feel like that's kind of a point to maybe touch on. I didn't put it in my artwork here, but it would be something that we could add for sure. And this is not related to painting, but I really want to plant sunflowers as well at the park, just to kind of beautify it up a little bit. I have hundreds of seeds, so I collected mine from last year. They're the big mammoth sunflowers, and I have nowhere to plant all of these in my yard, so looking to bring those somewhere, obviously be free. I can do the work to put them in. As far as like maintaining those so they grow, the rain should mostly do it as long as we're not in a drought like we were the past year. Not a whole lot of upkeep, maybe just some weeding here and there, but I think that would be a really cool addition to the park. Since who doesn't like sunflowers, right? Oh yeah, that fenced-in area too. I tried to take a look at the park just to kind of get familiar with it. Maybe line that with sunflowers. I think that would be really pretty, especially people having summer events there. Like, it would definitely be a good backdrop to that too. Let's see, or just a square plot as well, somewhere in the park. Doesn't have to be at that park. Could be at any park. Like I said, I'm just trying to get these seeds planted. I can't possibly fit them all in my yard, so they gotta go somewhere. Yeah, I think that is about everything with the ideas. Definitely fish, nature, birds, water. If we did want to do the big letters, it's kind of up to you at this point on how we move forward. The building too, I noticed, has that two-tone paint. So I feel like whatever we do, if we could incorporate the same color to the front of it to kind of make the whole building cohesive, even if we don't paint the whole building, just something like that to kind of tie it all together.
We did a lot of prep work here.
Oh, thank you. I don't feel like I did enough personally, but I tried.
So how much ideas?
How much sunflower seeds do you have?
I have a big count of them,
in your yard.
but it's a big Meyer bag full.
Okay.
So
Oh
somewhere in the hundreds range. Yeah.
I was thinking if we use them, like where would, you know.
You don't have to use all of them, but I'm gonna keep some for myself, but there's just no way I can put like 400 in my yard, so. I have to open up a flower cutting business at that point
And then usually they receive themselves
Yes.
too.
That's how I got all the seeds.
Yeah.
So at the end of the year, you chop the heads off, and they were as big as my head. Like, I have a picture of last year of the sunflower that they really grew very well. And then I harvested all the seeds from them, and that way you never have to buy seeds again. You just come and cut it down.
Neat.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Well, you answered about you, so thank you for that, Savannah. I mean, you did a lot of prep work here, so appreciate you. I don't think I have anything. And appreciate the, prep work and the details there. That's gonna be helpful, right?
Yeah, like I said,
That was very helpful.
even if I don't get chosen, feel free to use some ideas. You can still use the ladders or whatever else I have, because I don't want this to be at a huge cost to the township. It's something good for the community. I get that paint is very expensive though. For this size building, I don't believe that you will need scaffolding. I guess that's kind of a comfort level thing and how comfortable the artists are with climbing a ladder versus scaffolding. But it's one story, so I feel like that makes a good difference, cause, you know, if you're not gonna break a leg falling off, hopefully not, but just to minimize any risk like that, it's not a very tall area, so that definitely helps.
Nice job.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
you.
And then Michael will get on the ladder.
Yo,
So I'm not gonna put it on the other.
Sorry, I think you guys need to see into it.
I know, I was gonna say, turn it around.
I used some iridescent paint on it too to kind of do like the scales.
Very vibrant.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, our other two artists didn't seem to make it tonight. Aaron Brott, I'm assuming, and Hannah Masserin. I'm not sure which way to pronounce it, but, fortunately they're not here, so they can't partake, but just wanted to say thank you to the artists that did show up. Thank you very much. I enjoyed your presentations. I hope the board enjoyed your presentations as well. I don't know if you guys and gals have any more questions, comments, or concerns?
Just I think that, you know, we're gonna talk about it here, and then we'll make a recommendation to the township board, and then I'll email you. And I'll probably have a few questions, you know, before we move forward with anything.
And that's why it was kind of important, so that any of the artists that weren't here, maybe they could kind of see what's the full entailment of the projects and what's expected of them. Just so they're involved as much as I can, you know, but thank you again for allowing them to present themselves and allowing these projects to even be considered. Thank you so much.
You can leave if you want, or are you talking about the trails? I think that's gonna be kind of boring. Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.